Hello, everyone. Welcome to another Q&A. Today we have Alfredo with us. He's a former Facebook University alumni and he's a current Google software engineering intern. So, how this will work is the first half an hour, I'll ask him some questions side by side. I'll go over general application tips, his preparation tips, and anything miscellaneous that everybody might want to ask in common. And then the next half an hour, you all can ask your questions in the comments below, and he'll pick those questions and answer them for you. Okay, so I guess we are ready to start now. The first question is, Alfredo, you're an international student studying in the US. So, can you tell us a little bit about yourself, your background, and how you decided to come abroad and study, and what got you interested in computer science, just in general?
Of course, yes. And first of all, thank you so much for having me here. I think it's really cool that you're organizing these resources for international students and diversity students. So yeah, thank you for having me. Um, as about myself, I come originally from Guadalajara, Mexico.
Mhm.
I was raised there, and I guess I decided to come to the U.S. when I decided that I wanted to study computer science.
Mhm.
I really didn't know that much about computer science. I just knew that it was a cool industry. And so I think for the application process, it's amazing. Like I found it amazing how much information there is online for inform but I at the same time I found it amazing. Like once I was here in the US, how much more information people like people from the US would have about colleges, and like since they're young, like they would know what colleges they're looking into. They would like go tour the universities. They would know like very specifically about majors. And even though this is information that is generally out there and that I could have known and that many international students could know, sometimes it's because it's not in our culture, we won't take the we won't know about all this information that really
Right.
helps you with applications. And so I think like one of the first things would be like I wish I would have like informed myself even more specifically about what I wanted to do at each of these colleges, what they were looking for, and all these things. And it's information that's widely available online. So
Right.
yeah, but I decided I wanted to come to the US, and so I I applied to a ton of colleges, and I
Okay.
like 15 colleges, and I only got accepted to UC Berkeley.
Okay.
Yeah, it was a very weird scenario, but
Mm.
I very lucky, and and yeah, so I came here and I went to study computer science and electrical engineering and computer science. And when I started, I was again surprised, now not by the lack of information on colleges. I mean, that's irrelevant at this point, but the level of academics that people have at these schools,
Right.
coming from high school. And I found that like really surprising. Like coming from Mexico, my background um, was definitely less so within academics, like less prepared. And
Mhm.
I mean, that brought up certain challenges. Maybe we'll talk about them later on, but like right now, I'll like focus on introducing myself. So, I joined a club in my sophomore year. I think one of the best decisions I made, machine learning at Berkeley, and I think that gave me like a community, and I think I want to emphasize that part because when I joined that, it gave me a community of other people who were striving for similar things than me,
Mhm.
people who are striving to get cool jobs in tech and to build cool projects. And that really like helped me thrive within like my area and be able to like having other people that are doing similar things than me, like that helped me a ton. And that I think that was my first year recruiting. And so I applied to a ton of jobs, one of them FPU, Facebook University, and I I got into it. I they It's like a two-round application process. It's a different application process than normal SWE internships because it's only for freshmen and
Right.
sophomore, and we'll go into this later. But like, they make you write essays, and so that's a really cool way that you're able to express yourself if maybe like your grades are not that good, or you're lacking in certain perspectives and gaining in others. You can express that. And so I applied to FBU. I did. I got in. I did FBU, and that was an amazing opportunity because it
Mm.
opened my eyes to like the big tech world and like what
Yes.
is going on at these companies. I was so surprised. I honestly like it's a really cool place to work at. I You see all these shows and you see all these like movies, it's even cooler. And I couldn't like at least like campus wise, like and like amenities wise, and obviously the work was really cool. I learned a lot, and that allowed me to do like more cool projects during the semester.
Mhm.
Gave me more opportunities to do during the semester, which then gave me the ability to get into the recruiting pipeline for Google. And so this time, I was doing data engineering for Facebook, and so now I wanted to change to software engineering. And I think like all of this like goes hand in hand. So that gave me an opportunity to recruit at Google. And I was actually like thinking hard of like going back to Facebook, but I ended up getting rejected for software engineering at Facebook. And
Oh.
so yeah, like this stuff happened. Like once you're at that like very competitive stage, like you can get accepted to one company, reject to another one. But yeah, so I got into Google, and I mean it's an amazing company, and I after doing a lot of recruiting and like also think considering some startups that are more focused in my specific field, I ended up going to Google. And then that's where I'm at right now. That's what I'm doing this summer. It's been a really cool experience, very different. So I'm working from home. So like this is where I do my work too. Um, and and yeah, it's been very different, but a very cool opportunity. Getting way more into machine learning and like what my passions are. And I think that's been a cool development where like at Facebook, it was just like, oh, like I just want to like work for a big company. I just want
Yeah.
to do. Once that happens, like I think you're able to like start narrowing down more on, oh, I want to work on this specific thing. This is what I'm passionate about. And I think that's all what college is about. But yeah, so I've gotten these amazing opportunities. I'm extremely humbled by them. I never thought I would have anything like this a couple of years ago. And yeah, that's currently where I'm at.
I guess everybody watching this can probably take this back that even though he had interned at Facebook, um, he did get rejected the second time, but he still got into Google. So don't take all your rejections at heart. Just because you got rejected by one company you really thought you'd get into doesn't mean you're going to be rejected by another one. So make sure you learn something out of your failure. Okay, so you said you applied to Facebook University in your first year. So I guess a lot of us don't know about this. By the time we are right entering into college. So which is why I started scholarship track to kind of let people know right from the beginning that these are the opportunities that are available for you. But not every school, every college all around the world has these career centers or placement cells that have access to all these opportunities that they can put across to the students. So how did you find out about this?
Right. So actually, I was very like lucky to know about this because I'm surprised how many like international students and like people or like diversity people who are eligible to these programs don't know about them. I actually found out about this through Microsoft Explore, and I don't know if you guys know this, but it's another one of these diversity programs. And when I applied to this, what I realized talking to someone is most big tech companies have diversity programs for freshmen and sophomore.
Yes. Yeah,
And I I had no idea about this, but I had no idea about it. Give me a quick second.
sure.
Um, I wouldn't want someone just if people are waking up over here. So, yeah, I sorry for interrupting, but yeah, so Microsoft Explorer, and so I find out about this program, and I find out that Google has Google Step, um,
Right.
and I find out that Facebook has Facebook University. But at the same time, like the reason I was finding out about all these programs was because I was applying to everything.
Mm.
Um, I
Right.
guess I like when I decided my sophomore year, and Facebook University was my sophomore year. And when I decided that that I wanted to work that summer, I would apply to so many jobs. Like I would go to 5 or 6 websites, and I would look at anything that seemed interesting within software engineering, and I would apply to it. Like I
Mhm.
before I even applied to Facebook University, I probably applied to 100 or more jobs.
Right.
And I think like this is super important because it just ups you like as as freshmen and sophomore, like we don't have many of the skills that are required even for like an entry level internship. And
Right.
so anything that you can get an experience in the professional field, that's super it's just great opportunity. And so I really recommend like applying to as many jobs. Like I once I like got into Facebook University,
Yeah.
and once I was already like had signed my offer, I would still constantly receive rejection letters from other companies, even like small companies. I was like, how am I working at Facebook like in the future? And then these like really small companies are rejecting me. But like that's how the field works. It's a lot
Right.
of it is like luck. Um, so so yeah, I would definitely recommend applying to as many jobs as you can, and definitely
Mhm.
looking into diversity programs such as Facebook University, Microsoft Explore, Google Step.
Goldman
Um,
Sachs
go,
exploratory
go,
programs.
yes, EY, yeah, Ernest and Young has one.
Yes.
Yeah, almost
Jane Street.
big companies have that. Really, I didn't even know about that one. So yeah, that definitely.
Yes. So you mentioned there was some questions, some essay questions in your application. Okay.
I'm listening. I'm listening.
Yeah, there were
Some
some.
essay question. Yeah, sorry.
Yes. Do you have any advice as to how to approach them? Because I'm sure now everybody will start applying to them as soon as the applications open. So, what kind of a theme would you go around? Like, would you just really write something you're passionate about or something that comes straight from your heart? Or something targeted, like what you want them to think or something like that?
Right. Is this specific to FPU, or is this like
In general,
for
maybe.
just in general applications? Okay. Um, I think there's like there's two things here, or like I think there's like and I don't know if you've heard this before, but like there's the resume round, like getting in the door and getting into the recruiting pipeline, and then going through the recruiting pipeline. And so I'm gonna talk about separately because they
Okay.
really are very different. Like the first one is the resume round, and
Right.
in that one, you're just trying to shine on paper, and that's something very hard to do within itself. And so what you want to do is obviously like have a really nice resume, like one page resume, lots of white space that really conveys like your main achievements. But I want to focus on something a little before that because I think like most people start there. Like most people start at the at the resume round. Like, oh, how pretty is your resume? But I
Right.
think something more important that is like failed to mention sometimes is what is in your resume.
Right.
And the fact that you don't have a big company name or that you don't have even an internship, that you have no work experience, doesn't mean that there cannot be cool stuff in your resume. There's so many cool things that you can learn online, that projects that you can do within school and outside of school, organizations that you can join. There's so many ways to make a resume shine without work experience. And I think that is super important. Like, really, um, if this is something you want to do, and like if like a Google and Facebook internship are one of your biggest career and college goals, I think like you really have to look at it in a way of, okay, I'm competing with some of the most competitive applicants in the world, right? And so how can I shine? How can I really? And this is not going to be like, oh, I'm going to do a 1 month project. It's going to be like, okay, over the next 6 months, I'm going to learn this skill that's very trendable and in the market right now,
Right.
and I'm going to work towards it and take courses towards it outside of school and really start showing that I really care about this. And I think that's one of the things that FPU cares about. And if you do this, you can like write about this in your essays apart from your resume. So that's why I mentioned FPU having like an applicant, like an essay, being very good for things like this, because maybe you haven't worked at a big company or you haven't even had an internship, but you've been focusing 6 months on really developing yourself and learning skills that you're interested about. And so I would say that's step one, even before looking at the resume, even before making a resume. Like, just pick out the skills you like, that you're passionate about, and go out and like give your all to learning them. And then the resume, of course, is still very important. And I think, like, I'm not going to go deeply into it because there's a lot of resources online on how to make a pretty resume.
Right.
But some things I would definitely point out is lots of white space. Um, Make sure like you go online and you look through some like very like um, you look through like formats and like what is well seen. And I can send you some formats later if you have somewhere where you can post them.
Yes,
Yeah, I
sure.
can like send you like a white, like a just like a yeah, like a skeleton
Yes.
of like what mine looks like without the information
Yes. Do
for
follow
people
us.
to fill out. Yeah.
Do follow. I'm telling the audience, do follow us to get that format. We'll be posting it as soon as he sends it.
Perfect. Yeah. And so lots of white space, definitely keep it to one page. Like, no one below the age of 48 years has any reason to have a resume of more than one page. Um, and yeah, the first thing, like, do projects that you like, that are not like 1 week projects or 2 week projects, but rather like 3 month projects that you had to learn, develop, like design and create, and put those in your resume. And that is what's going to grab the attention of recruiters when they're looking through this, beyond your like what school you went to or what grades you have. And then once you do this, and let's say out of all the resumes and out of all the applicants, they pick yours. And I want to emphasize the first thing I said in another question: apply to as many jobs as you can, because when you're looking at one piece of paper to describe a complete person, it luck plays a huge factor. How was the recruiter feeling that day? What did she specifically think is valuable? So many little factors. So apply to as many jobs as you can with your what worked out resume, with the projects you've been building towards. um, and and once you do this, now it's the recruiting pipeline. And so let's say like one of these companies grabs your resume, like Google, and they say, oh, we want to interview that person. I think at that point your resume becomes way less important. And so now it's about your actual skills programming and communicating. And for this, I would say one of the most important things for the recruiting process at Google, especially for internships, like, um, let me give a little context. Internships at Google, like the interviews for internships are 40 minutes.
Right.
Like, the recruiter calls you up, he'll introduce himself sometimes by name. Yeah, no, he definitely by name. Sometimes he'll tell you what he does at Google. Sometimes he'll just dive straight into the question. He'll tell you, go to this Google Doc,
Right.
and he asks you a technical question, like a very lead code question. So lead code, hacker rank, cracking the coding interview, they are all very mainstream and yet super good resources. I actually would think that the best resource for preparing for my Google interview was actually a video put out by Google about how their interviews go, and like they'll ask you a question and how you should approach solving it. And like, I won't go too much into this because this is very available in books like Cracking the Coding Interview,
Mhm.
which definitely there's a ton of PDFs online.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't want to promote privacy uh, in this live stream, but I'm just saying there's a ton of resources where you don't have to pay for any of these.
Right.
Um, and and yeah, these are amazing resources. They describe the interviewing process way closer than you would think. And it's all about that, understanding the interview process, but also practicing for it. So a ton
Right.
of lead code, a ton of practice with engineering questions. Sometimes you'll have to dive deeper into certain topics, like say dynamic programming. Like, that one probably won't be just like doing lead code, but rather taking like a week or a couple of days to learn the concept and learn how to approach it. But yeah, that's what I would say. So like, just to summarize, resume, and within resume, like doing projects to put on your resume and making your resume pretty, And once you're in the pipeline, just getting very familiar with the with the interviewing process and doing a lot of lead code. Um,
Mm.
yeah.
Thank you. So, you also mentioned about Google. Now you're a Google SWE intern and you're also an international student. So, did you face any difficulty applying for this, or is there any general advice that you have for all international students in particular?
Right. Okay, these are. Oh, was there any difficulty as an international student specifically for SWE? Um, so I think application advice for Google SWE, I what I described in the previous question.
Mm-hmm.
Um, yeah, as I said, really work on your resume, really work on lead code. I cannot emphasize lead code enough. Interview quite and mock interviews. So like do like look at the videos that Google puts out about how their interviews are. Um, I thought they were like not trying to trick me, but like I thought like, oh, okay, that's a very general. No, they're super similar to that. I was very surprised.
Okay.
So look at those, and then with your friends or someone else who's interested in these types of opportunities, do mock interviews. That's a huge application advice for Google SWE. A lot of mock interviews where you set someone up with a lead code problem
Mm-hmm.
and they explain it to you and they run you through it. Practice your talking. I think that's super important. Like your communicating your solution as you're saying it. It's not trivial, and you can be a very good programmer and have a very hard time with live explaining someone what you're doing while you're coding in a Google Doc.
Mm-hmm.
So make sure you don't just over index on, oh, I can program, therefore I'm ready for these interviews, and
Mm-hmm.
prepare specifically for the interviewing process at Google, through their resources and cracking the coding interview, and through just a lot of lead code and HackerRank. Um, as an international student, I would say that it's it's very it's very specific to what country you're coming from, or whether you're an international student in America or you're an international student that is still in your home country.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but there's definitely a difference in opportunities, especially for people that are still in their home countries. The jobs that they can apply to and that they're eligible for, and so again, like I would emphasize like applying to as many jobs as you can, like even without it takes you less time to apply to most jobs, than to worry if you're even eligible for the job. I don't know how much good advice this is, but
Sure.
it like definitely like I think websites like streamline application process these days very well, where it will take less than 5 minutes to apply for the whole job.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so yeah, applying to just a ton of opportunities, and that yeah, I think that would be my advice. Um, that would be my advice.
Okay, so we'll come to the last question before we can start with the live Q&A. So now that you worked at two tech giants, what are your future plans when you graduate?
Right. This was a little polemic because I I most likely will want to go to a startup. I I think seeing seeing how it is at Facebook and Google, I think they're amazing places and it's really cool opportunities to work at. But personally, my passion is really about building something and creating something where I have a higher ownership in the creation of it.
Mm-hmm.
And I think like Facebook, Google, like they're amazing opportunities, but they'll always be there. And so because my passion is to like build something where I have a higher a higher say and higher ownership of the project, and I'm more passionate about it because I'm choosing where it should be headed. I want to take my first couple years out of college to really try and make a startup and or work at a very small startup, um, and I think this is something that's overlooked many like by many international students, especially like international students who are already in the US and who can work in the US, and they'll think that Facebook and Google are the most competitive and the like the highest paying and the best opportunities, and they're amazing opportunities. But there's a lot of very competitive startups that will give you the same amenities, the same opportunities. The salaries are super similar to big tech, and they let you choose a project that you are more passionate about, because say you're passionate about finance, or you can like go work at Robinhood. And Robinhood, like if you look at salary.fyi, I think that's the name.
Yeah.
Like I think they have very competitive salaries with many of these big tech companies. So
Right.
so I think that's one thing that's overlooked. It's like normally startups are seen as like, oh, if I go work in a startup, it's because like I'll be like I won't be making much, and I'll only make much if the startup goes big. And so I think that's a cool alternative. For me personally, it's more about the ownership and the projects I want to work at.
Mhm.
So currently I'm working on a startup called neuroclarity.ai, and we're just starting, but I'm working with three very talented individuals, and I'm hoping that that goes somewhere. I still have a year to try and make that go somewhere, so that the day that I graduate, I can choose to go that track full time. And obviously that's the dream when you're striving for the startup atmosphere. But I'm not sure. Like at the end of the day, I might end up working at Google and Facebook, and you never know. And because they're amazing places, like
Right.
I I'm just humbled to have these many opportunities. But if it was up to me, I would definitely choose to go into the startup world. And I think that's a route that should be more considered.
Yes. Thank you. So now we'll start with the live Q&A, and I think we already have a ton of comments over here. So you can start picking from those, and I'll let you take over.
Oh, thank you. Um, Perfect. So let me see. So I'll read them out. Yashasvi, I'm sorry if I mispronounced anyone's name. So I'm a final year engineering student, and I wanted to ask. Oh, nice. That's a cool feature. Um, I'm a final year engineering student. I want to ask if I should focus on development knowledge for top product-based companies, or instead do competitive coding and like development knowledge. I think for this question, like most of these questions are like they have no right or wrong answer, but more than anything, like that, because I don't think you should go totally to one side or the other. I think both are very important. And like as I was describing the process earlier, development knowledge is really gonna help you um, get in the door. The resume stage I was talking about, like that part, your competitive coding is not gonna serve you for anything in that part, because they're not gonna see your coding. They're just gonna see a piece of paper that talks about your knowledge and about your actual skills that you've been building up over your final year as an engineering student. But then if they see your resume and they bring you into the pipeline, and you've just been focusing on development knowledge, and you don't have any, I'm taking competitive coding as a term for lead code, or like actual just interviewing coding, which is a very specific type of coding. Like you also are going to need that once you are in the pipeline. So I would definitely think find a balance between that, where competitive coding is very specific to what you can do. Competitive coding, like it's lead code, doing problems there, or data structures, dynamic programming, all these concepts that are like you don't really get to choose. Development knowledge is where you get to shine your passions, and where you get to choose like that's such a huge field that you get to choose what product you want to focus in, what technology you want to focus in. And I would definitely encourage you to do that your last your last year, your senior year. Focus on developing the skills in the area that makes you passionate, because I think that's the most important, being passionate about what you're going to do and being passionate about the skills that you have. Um, so definitely a balance of that, and choosing what development knowledge you want to focus on. Let's see. Okay. How to apply for Facebook and Google internships. I am from India, moved to my third year and aiming for SWE internships. Hey Rishav, so again, definitely encourage you to look into as many opportunities as you can. Facebook and Google are extremely competitive, but more than anything, when it gets that competitive, it's a lot about luck, and who was the one that saw your resume. So um, apply to as many jobs as you can. Like it should be in the hundreds if you're trying to go into this field. And for applying to Facebook and Google and to any of these companies, it's all online. It's all I think Facebook and Google have their own platforms, but they're also listed in all of these in many of the job listing platforms such as LinkedIn, Glassdoor, I Hire Engineer, to name a few. But I know there's a ton of them. So um, definitely browse through them like every day, and if you see a cool opportunity, take like the 5 minutes it takes to apply. Um, have your resume ready, and yeah, just send it out to as many people. If you have the opportunity to go to career fairs, I think that's a good way to actually get some one-on-one time with the recruiter. I know right now that might be really hard because of the current world situation, but yeah, try to get your resume to as many people, as many recruiters, and as many companies as you can. And then if your dream is to work at Facebook and Google, build up to that, and obviously while still applying directly to Facebook and Google. But I think there's many other opportunities that are hugely overlooked just of how famous the Google and Facebook brand names are. Um,
I just,
are
I just
oh yeah.
wanna. I'm sorry. I just wanna add on to it that um, apart from just applying on their websites, just try and network with your current alumni, from your school alumni, whoever has worked at one of these companies. Maybe they'll be willing to give you a referral or something, or network with people on LinkedIn that might first form a connection. Just don't go straight up and ask people, hey, you're working at Google, can you give me a referral? No, don't do that. Form a connection, talk to them, tell them about your interests. You can also connect with recruiters on LinkedIn. Just don't connect with simply people from Google or Facebook or whatever. Even send your resume to some recruiters on these websites. But again, the same thing, personalize what you send them. Don't just straight up craft a message that you send to hundreds of people. And yeah, network. The referral will really help you.
Definitely, yeah. I wanna emphasize. I couldn't emphasize networking enough. I think like a referral is worth a lot, and I don't think I mentioned that, but a referral from someone working at the company is definitely worth a lot. So yeah, that's definitely very true, and yeah, like as you said, like I think emphasizing that if you want to connect with someone with a recruiter, the more personalized you make it, I think it's the more worth it is. Even like it's better to connect with one recruiter or one Google engineer than to and do it very personally, where you're interested in what they are working on personally, and you really get to know them, and then send them that message and try to approach them, than having 10 Google engineers in your LinkedIn network, who you just like connected to randomly, or just because they were working at Google or Facebook. So yeah, definitely huge emphasis on what she just said. Um, are the FBU sophomore applications different than the one first years get? I don't think so. There are different programs. So Facebook Facebook University for Engineers is for sophomores and freshmen. Um, Facebook University for data science and data engineering, for data analysis, are for only sophomores. And I think I think there's like 7 Facebook engineering programs. Sorry, Facebook University programs by this point, 7 or 5. So so each one varies differently, but and each one has their own requisites. Um, but within themselves, the applications are the same for first and second years. Um, am I eligible for it as I am from India and doing Master of Computer Applications 2-year? Um, I, I think you are. I don't wanna say any certainties because I mean I'm not a recruiter. I am not a recruiter and I'm not here representing any of these companies. So I don't want to say anything certain, but I think you are eligible. I'm not sure actually if you're doing your master's already. Um, I'm not sure if you're eligible, but you for specifically for Facebook University. But I think um, for everything else, you are definitely eligible.
So, for Facebook University, it's only first and second year undergraduates. But if you're looking for something specific, if you're doing masters, like he said, like Alfredo said, go on to their websites and keep tracking. Actually, in Google, what you can do is you can set up an alert for whatever positions you're interested in, and whenever those openings are put out, you'll receive an alert. And same thing you can go do for other companies like Facebook also. Just go to their website and keep checking every month. And we will definitely be posting on Scholarship Track as well when these positions open up. So keep an eye out.
Yeah, definitely. Um, yeah. Ruven, I'm sorry, but I don't know too much about embedded software engineer. I definitely work more on high level. Um, but I do know that many of these companies are focusing increasingly on that. So if that's something you're interested in, definitely keep developing that. Um, is Facebook University available to students in India? I think it is. Again, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think it's available to all types of international students. I know I met a lot of international students in my time in the program, not just international students um, like in America, but international students from all over the world who are coming for the internship, and they'll help you with whatever whatever immigration things you have to deal with to come for the internship. Any similar programs for graduate students? I I'm not. I don't. I'm sorry. Yeah, I don't know that much about application process for graduate students. But I would say graduate students are more competitive within the normal SWE market. So definitely just apply to as many opportunities. I think all opportunities are graduate student opportunities. Any idea about Facebook residency program? I've heard of it, but I couldn't talk too much about it. I would say the one thing I know about it is it's very specific. It's very specific to niche interests and niche like professional developments for PhDs, master students that are really emphasizing one topic in their careers. So if that's something you want to look at, um, definitely like grab one thing that you're extremely passionate about and work towards that and really develop yourself within that. Could you guide us to some opportunities available for fourth year students? Um, so I think like all the advice I've been talking about applies as much to internships as to fourth year students looking for full-time opportunities. Um, again, like give your resume out to as many people as possible. Apply to as many jobs as you can. Um, like I can guide you to some I can guide you to some recruiting websites on websites where you can apply for jobs. And I can link those later today. But yeah, more than anything, just apply to as many jobs as you can. Prepare for lead code. Prepare for interviews if you're looking into SWE. And and yeah, I think like all the advice I previously said applies to to this question too. Um, confused whether to prepare for MS. Not sure whether I would get a mission visa due to this pandemic situation. So should I be worried about it or should I start applying for jobs? Yeah, the this current situation is definitely very problematic. Has left a lot of uncertainties in the recruiting process in lots of people's lives. Um, and I would say both. Like you like again like don't prioritize one over like one completely over the other to the point where if that one fails, you've totally left the other one behind. So I would say like applying to a job really takes like 4 to 5 minutes. Um, because I mean at this like from what I've seen, like all they take is your resume and then you just fill in some information. So um definitely keep applying to jobs. In my advice and in my opinion, keep applying to jobs. And but also if an MS is something that you're passionate about and you want to prepare for, definitely keep doing that. Like I'm sure like they're still going to be admitting international students. It's probably going to be more competitive and harder, but I think if you're passionate enough about it, nothing can stop you. And um, yeah, definitely keep working towards that. Um, no, Sharon, this isn't for rising juniors, at least not FBU specifically, but I think everything else like still applies. And I think as a rising junior, you have way more opportunities. Um, you have way more opportunities for jobs because as a freshman and sophomore, like normal programs are very hard to get into. And then like we have these diversity programs and specific these specific programs that are specifically tailored for freshmen and sophomore. But then the rest of internships, they're probably mostly tailored towards rising juniors because the whole point of the internship is that you'll get a return offer once you finish the internship. So uh, definitely don't be sad that these specific opportunities are not tailored towards rising juniors because all the rest are. And I'm not saying that they're you can't get all these other opportunities being a freshman and sophomore, but they're definitely tailored towards rising juniors. When you took outside online courses, did you list them on your resume when you applied, or should we only list in-person school courses? I think it's very specific to what you take and how it's being applied in your professional skills. So I'll elaborate a little on that. So when you take a course, if it's like a 1 week course, you're probably not going to list it on your resume. But uh, if it's a 3 or 2 month course that you took, you might list it on your resume. But I think what is even better is that after taking this class online, and after taking this course, you're going to have new skills that you can build stuff with. And I think that's the thing that recruiters care the most about, especially if it's something that you learn in the course, but then build for yourself outside of the course. And I think that's huge. If you take a course on machine learning or software engineering or web development, and then you go and build your own website or you go and build um, your a website for just an example like your uncle's store or your your family something or your friend your friend just wants a personal website and you build it for them. I think that's a way better achievement than putting the course directly on your resume because it shows that you went, you learned a skill, and then you applied it to the real world, and you were passionate enough to apply it to the real world. So sure, you can start by listing the course on your resume, if you feel like it's one of your proudest accomplishments, but definitely try and go build something with that course. And I think this applies to anything, even if it's something non-SWE, and we have any like non-SWE listeners, and it's something like finance, and you took a side course on something about finance, and then you list on your resume like, oh, I helped someone with my skills. It can be anyone, but I went and applied these skills to the real world. I think that's way more valuable than the course itself, and and companies probably value that more. So definitely try to strive towards that. What is an example of a project you can do? Um, I don't. I guess like I can talk very quickly about. I'm currently doing a project for marketers. We're trying to do face analysis, emotion analysis, and eye tracking while someone is watching a video. So for marketers to be able to just plug in a video online, have any of us watch it, and get insight into how their customers are reacting to these videos. And these are really cool developments within machine learning, both emotion classification, um, seeing where your eyes are pointing at the screen, and many other cool things in machine learning are happening. So definitely would be one area that if you're interested in SWE, I would definitely encourage you to go look at that, because I think it's an area I'm extremely passionate about, but it's also a really cool area. And it's we've had the luck of having a ton of resources online um, be built over the last 2 years, to the point where like you don't need like your college or your school to have a class focused on this, because there's so many free online resources online. Uh, but yeah, definitely go check out neuroclarity.ai and let me know what you think. Um, yeah, I'm currently pursuing a career in data engineer. What skills or projects should I focus on? So I would say that from what I've seen in data engineering, there's a couple specific tools that are very widely used, and that probably being good at them is always going to benefit you. So Python, a lot of like data engineers work very closely with data scientists, and so most of its development it's within Python. So that's a very good useful language to have under your belt. SQL, again, like when you're talking about data engineering and data science, like SQL and Python are, I would say, the two most important skills. Um, and then, like within like these two skills, I would say data pipelining is the most important thing you can do. So learning how to, and I mean, there's full courses on this, so I won't explain it right now, but learning how to grab raw data and put it into visualizable and useful formats for other people in a company to use. I would say that's super valuable. So I don't know any specific courses off the top of my head, but if you go online and you search for them, I'm sure there are a ton of available free resources. Um, but yeah, data engineering would be Python, SQL, and data pipelining. And then if you want to do a little of data science, there's a ton of courses on that to develop your skills within that. Um, yep.
I just want to make one announcement that everybody who's joined in through KJ Sumaya IoT Cell, there is a feedback form link in the comments, and which will get shut within 15 minutes. So make sure you fill it out within 15 minutes to get your certificates. That's it.
Nice. Um, how to apply for Facebook and Google internships. I am from India, moved to my third year and aiming for SWE internships. Oh, I think I answered this one, but yeah, online mostly everything is Googleable nowadays. So definitely use that to your advantage. It's a very cool time to be living at because the quality of resources is huge. Sometimes I like I think sometimes this is overlooked, like the available resources that are online for free, or even sometimes at least for way cheaper than a college education, and that are like equally good or even better and more applied. So definitely look up like both for applying to internships, like online web page, like there's a ton of job application web pages. Look them up and just go in them like once a day and see three jobs that you like and take 15 minutes to apply to them. But also for everything else, like if you ever have any you ever want to learn something, you ever have a doubt about anything else, um, just Google it, and it's amazing the resources that you can get from that. Is Facebook University available to students in India? Again, I can't give a for sure answer, but I think it is because I met many international students. Yes, I just want to emphasize Atlanta's comment, like cracking the coding interview, HackerRank, and LeetCode, amazing resources, all free. Definitely try to use them. Um, Question: does your Facebook internship interview have data structures and algorithms testing? Um, So my face so FBU does not. FBU because it's for sophomores and freshmen. It it had very simple programming questions, but nothing like actual SWE interviews. But for my Google internship, yes, I think those are core concepts, and definitely like data structures and algorithms are like the top two and far and beyond the most important to have down for any kind of SWE internship. Um, I think it's like if you have those two down, you will get very far within the interviewing process, and then being able to communicate with those and use them for problems. So I again emphasize lead code. Like I can't emphasize that enough with these questions. Like best way to prepare, best way to prepare for these things. Um, yeah. Oh, I got lost. Can you point me to a question? Oh, oh, there we go. Would you preferably suggest any coding boot camps or join apply for internship courses? Um, I'm not that familiar with coding boot camps, but I would say both. Okay, so for coding boot camps, I think they're very valuable. Depending on which coding boot camp. Um, but more than specifically coding boot camps, I think there's all kinds of resources online that you can learn to program from ground zero. And so I would say definitely take use of that while you are applying for internships course. Again, I've been hearing a lot of questions like, should I do this? Should I do like X thing or apply for internships and like apply for internships or certain things? And again, I don't think it should ever be a question of black and white. It should be you're building on yourself and you're developing yourself and doing these coding boot camps or doing these resources online. And then you take 25 minutes, like from between 20 minutes to an hour every day to just apply to as many jobs as you can. And then again, jobs let you reapply. I think like even big companies, they'll even look a slightly better in your resume if you've applied before. Um, like they keep that, like at least I know they keep it on the record how many times you've applied. And so I think you can only apply every 6 months. But again, that gives you a lot of time to keep building on your skills. So just keep applying and keep applying to as many opportunities as you can. If they have some restriction that you can't apply again for some time, like that's fine. Just apply to other opportunities, and when the time goes by, apply again. But yeah, definitely never go full to one side. Um, keep doing keep doing coding boot camps and developing yourself while applying to as many opportunities as you can. And updating your resume and LinkedIn to reflect all those developments that you're doing. Oh yeah, that's a very important one. Just for the last one, make sure you keep. I think LinkedIn is a great way to keep your profile updated. So make sure when you're doing these professional developments, definitely put them on LinkedIn. If you don't have a LinkedIn, definitely make a LinkedIn. I personally love LinkedIn because it's a great way to really show off your resume in a more personalized manner and a better I would think it's like a better resume. So definitely keep that updated. And companies allow you when companies allow you to link to your LinkedIn, you should always try and link to your LinkedIn. Link to your LinkedIn. And you should always have it as updated as possible, because even resumes sometimes are not completely updated. But LinkedIn should always be like, oh, you get an opportunity, or you finish a course, or you get a new job, you should be updating that especially because sometimes it's not opportunities you're directly applying to, but rather someone just stumbling up on your profile and be a recruiter stumbling up on your profile and sending you an opportunity. So definitely use that tool. I think it's a very valuable tool. And things like Scholarship Track, use tools like those to find resources and connect with people that are looking for the same things as you are. I think that's an amazing tool that you should leverage. Um, what are your tips for maximizing the chance that you pass the resume part of the application and get to the interviews? Right. Um, let me think a little so I can say something different than my previous. I can go a little more philosophical for this question. Like, I think because I've already said everything of the core stuff, like white space, projects, but I think finding something that you are passionate about, and like I don't think, like, yeah, computer science is cool and like you might be passionate about computer science, but what part of computer science? Because like, are you passionate about like low level stuff, high level stuff, machine learning stuff, more like SWE stuff? Like, I think it's such computer science has become such a huge area that it's really like hard, if not impossible, to just be really, really passionate about computer science. Because if you are really passionate about computer science, then you'll start diving into something more specific. And so definitely start thinking about that early and start thinking about what area of computer science am I passionate about? Like, is it like, do I really like the low level stuff, programming in C and caring about my memory and doing like being very close to the hardware? Do I like being higher up and doing data science, or do I like machine learning, or do I like compilers and I really want to get into that? And I mean, I listed a couple, but there's hundreds of them. And so find your passion and develop it. Like, hit it and hit it hard, and keep on doing courses, and keep on learning and reading and truly like striving to become one of the best people in that field. And then like when you apply for these chances, like recruiters will be looking for specific things. And if you are going like if that passion, you find it in something that is professionally driven and professionally available, it can be anything. You'd be surprised at the opportunities there are there for all kinds of for all kinds of jobs and niches of not machine learning, of computer science. But try and find that and like really emphasize in your college career finding that thing that you're passionate about and developing yourself, and not taking one course and being like, oh, now I understand this field, but rather taking one course to introduce yourself. And if you enjoy that, taking another five and just reading about it and truly becoming like an expert in that field. And I think it's it's understated how available it is to become an expert in a field just by the resources there are online about it. And then another one would be find a community that is also passionate about that. It can be one person, it can be like a group of friends, or it can be a whole community if your university offers that. Find a community that is passionate about that topic, and again, really strive for that and really strive to become the best at that. I think like the T-shaped man is one of the best applying concepts to this question and to the application process. Like, yes, become good enough at everything in computer science, and so that you can interview and you can pass a coding interview, but choose that one, like what you want your TT to be, and really dive as deep as possible in that area. Where if Facebook, if Google is looking for a compiler's expert, or they're looking for a machine learning, like a machine learning employee, they'll really look at your resume and they'll see that you're really good at that. And I think many of the computer science um, allows for these skills to be very applicable to the real world and allow you to build on projects. Oh, damn. I mean, I don't want to keep anyone over time, but I have a little more time. So, is it okay if I keep answering questions? Yes, I'll take that as a yes.
I guess it's up to you. Maybe you can do three, four more and then skim over some
Perfect. Yeah,
and do
right.
it quick.
Uh, For technical interviews for Google SWE internships, do we focus on lead code, easy, medium, or hard problems? Build up. Start with the easy. I mean, if like I would say hard on the hard problems, but um, you don't start there. Start with the easy, go to the medium, and try and strive for the hard. And suddenly you'll be finding yourself being able to solve these questions that at first, when you first open lead code, they looked impossible to you, and you thought, who would ever be able to solve that? Which university do you go to? I go to UC Berkeley, University of California, Berkeley, in Berkeley. Other than LeetCode, what resources do you recommend for interview preparation? Google has amazing resources online. Um, Really great videos where they'll walk you through one of their interviews. You'll be surprised at how closely that matches a phone interview with Google. Definitely look at those. Cracking the coding interview is another one. Not the problems. Don't do the problems in the back of the book of cracking the coding interview. Those you can do on LeetCode. Do the chapters. They're very short. It'll take you an hour or two to go through the whole part where it's the actual written part. And within that part, they'll outline how you have to do an interview and really take that to heart, write notes on it. And I think that's the important part of cracking the coding interview, not the example problems, because we're lucky to live in an age where we have LeetCode and HackerRank and resources like those, where you can be automatically checked. Is it possible for rising juniors to apply? Again, most internships are made for rising juniors, so definitely apply to as many as you can. Um, how do you stay motivated while learning something and working on side projects? Um, Community is a great one. Finding other people who are interested in that. It can be in person, it can be in your school, but it can also be online through forums and through other areas. Um, but also making sure that it's something that you're passionate about, right? Like if I right now try to learn about something that I don't care about, or that I don't see my passion or my future going into, and I don't see a future in, I wouldn't be able to stay motivated. I don't think anyone would, because these are hard concepts and you need to be really, really motivated by them and passionate about them to be able to stay constantly motivated to really become good at them. Um, what are FBU recruiters looking for when picking candidates? Um, mm, Let me see. What are FBU recruiters looking for when picking candidates? I mean, I wouldn't know. I'm not a recruiter, but I would say that definitely everything that I've talked about, just resume, and I think something they really care about is driving diversity. So if you're involved in certain programs for where you not only are diverse, but you drive diversity within your communities, I think that's a really great thing. Um, yeah. What are the necessary technical knowledge for Google SWE internships? Data structure and algorithms being one, but what about other necessary technical skills? Um, Definitely, yeah, learn, like, I think for getting through the process, I would say data structure and algorithms are important. For like the technical knowledge for the internship. It's more like what you care about and what you develop. Like, I mean, I can say computer science, but that's so broad. It's more about what you specifically want to develop on, and what area you were passionate about and what area you choose to develop on. Yeah. Okay. How are data structures and algorithms used in real life problems while doing internships at Google and Facebook? Um, I mean, I think it's definitely very different. It's not as much as just like just mm, like interview questions, but they're very widely used in like they're more used as a subset. So every problem that you're solving within the company, you'll be using data structures and algorithms to do your coding. It'll be more implicit. It won't be as much as, oh, I'm using like this data structure for this and I'm using it this way. It'll be more streamlined, and in the coding process, you'll have to use these data structures and algorithms to solve the problems that you're given. Um, yeah, this I'll take a couple more questions. Um, so we'll go till 10:15, and then yeah, I have to go to something else, but yeah. Um, so how many side projects are recruiters expecting for a sophomore, and how can I get it started on one? Um, Again, I don't think it's a number that they're expecting. I think it's more about how much can you impress them with a side project. And so I would say less but more quality is better than just having like a ton of side projects, especially because I really do not recommend having more than one page resume. So just I think quality over quantity is definitely advised. And one project that you're working towards like slowly, but like making bigger and bigger is better than like a 1 week project that you like finish and then just leave off. As a, how can I get started with one? I think there's really like there's really cool opportunities online where courses will take you. I can't give specific advice because it's whatever you're interested in, but for like something like machine learning, one way is to like that I know of is you'll take a course and you'll learn about neural networks, and then you'll you'll learn about like computer vision, and then you decide like then you like start thinking like, oh, what would I find cool? And many of these things are already done, but like, oh, I think like emotion classification would be cool, or um types if you're really into cars, let's say, and you say, oh, I want to like be able to make an app that you take a picture of a car and it tells you what car it is and what year it is. And I think this would be possible, but it would take like researching data sets, researching what algorithms and machine learning you're going to have to use, then going and learning those resources, learning those algorithms and those machine learning models, and then applying them and creating this app, this final product. And like, this is not going to take you 1 week. It's not going to take you 2 weeks. It's probably going to take you like a month or 2 months, depending on where you're at on the process, or if you're starting from scratch, probably more. But I think that's going to be way more valuable than saying like, oh, I built this neural network during a course I was in. Um, and they're gonna really look at that and be impressed by your project. Um, what is the best balance between having general purpose resume you can apply quickly with and having a resume tailored to the company's needs? I I would say you should have two resumes. Your general computer science resume, and then your your specific area of interest. So like for me, I have my SWE resume and then I have my machine learning resume. And they're different and they're depending on the company I'm applying for. Um, and the position, I think it's more about the position I'm applying for, then I'll see which one I use. As to like really tailoring your resume to a company, I think that's harder because as students, it's not like we have that much experience to put out there in our resume. So you should really just grab the best experience that you have, and just make your two resumes within those two areas. Um, What do programs like STEP and FBU look for in first year university students when first year students have not had that previous experience? Um, Passion for sure. Whatever you're doing, obviously these programs will count your high school experience a bit more, but they really want to see that you're passionate about the topics that they're applying to. For STEP, that would be general computer science. For um, sorry, I was looking at a message, but yeah. So definitely passion and showing them that you're passionate about the things that you do in your daily life. Um, let's see. I'm gonna go a little down so I don't. Um, let's see. Um, there's one here. How do you manage college and Facebook University side by side? You can't. You cannot. Like these programs are usually in the summer when school is off. Um, I don't know any details about Facebook AI residency program. Just that they're really cool. And then above that, is it possible for me to be able to work well with data science and algorithm in 5 months if I'm starting from scratch? Um, Probably not. 5 months is not a lot of time, but it's definitely enough for you to be able to start doing really cool projects. Like, um, and for you to start getting in like internships and opportunities. But it'll take many years for you to actually become really good. But 5 months is good to like do a couple really cool projects and get some really cool skills. Um, Being from a tier two university, and this will be the last question. Being from a tier two US university, how do I outstand my resume in front of recruiters? Um, yeah, so I think it's a very similar question. So again, projects. Just I don't I like recruiters care way more about your skills and your passion and what you're doing in your outside of school than what you're doing in school. Like at the end of the day, you and your peers, you're all taking the same classes. So how are you gonna outstand beyond your peers? And it's gonna be by what you do outside of classes, what communities you're helping out, what projects and skills you're learning, how passionate you are about those skills. So definitely like find your passion, I would say. Like as my last message, I would like to say like find your passion. Don't don't get mixed up for the wrong reasons on trying to get a Google or Facebook internship, but rather do it because it's an amazing place to develop these passions. But first you have to find your passion, find that thing that you really enjoy doing, that you could spend countless hours doing. Find that and then develop in that. And so make your like to the point where like it's not even that hard to just work really hard towards developing yourself because you really enjoy that. And I think that's the most important thing because at the end of the day, like if you don't enjoy it, you're just going to burn out from trying to develop yourself in these areas. So definitely make sure that this is something you love. And computer science, the amazing thing about it is so big that you can definitely or you can almost definitely find an area within computer science that you're really passionate about. And they're also different. So use your college to explore all those areas. And once you think you found something that you really enjoy, dive as deep as you can into it and use as many of the free and available resources online to do that. And yeah, thank you to everyone for listening out. Again, this is like I'm only saying this from my experience, and whatever I say is definitely not the final answer. But I hope that was helpful to some people, and I was able to give out some information. And thank you for the scholarship track team for organizing this. I think this is a super interesting, cool program to help out all kinds of students, and I really appreciate this opportunity and this platform.
Thank you so much, Alfredo, for joining us. And I'm sure a lot of people benefited from your answers, and we're only able to do this because people like you volunteer to help them out. So, everybody that attended this live session, we'd encourage you to post 3 takeaways from this on your LinkedIn and tag Alfredo, tag Scholarship Track, and we'll pick out the best and feature them. We'll put up this video and put a link to Alfredo's LinkedIn profile in the comments if he's okay with it.
Of
Just
course.
don't spam him too much. And
No, yeah, and to that said, like if you have any questions,
yeah,
I'll send you my email. I think I respond there faster than I do. Wait, can I? I'll type it out right now in case you can like put it up, because
okay.
like really I do respond to it very like continuously. And if you have any further questions, please feel free to reach out. I would love to help out.
Thank you. So, a couple of announcements. From next week onwards, we are going to have some late code practice or whiteboard mock interview workshops and all. So, look out for any of those opportunities and sign up forms that we put out. I think it'll really help. Like Alfredo said, lead code helps, and practicing them with your friend also helps. So, we'll be organizing these for you. And like, comment, share, subscribe for everybody because we'll be having some more of these live Q&As with people from Microsoft Explorer, Google APM, and Facebook data engineering internships, and so many of these. So also we are opening out our club application forms again. So club leads will be able to have direct access to these resources. And basically the point is just to organize these sessions and these workshops in your college so more of your college students can benefit from it. And yeah, the link for that form is also in the comments. So let us know your feedback for this session so we can improve on the next sessions as well. And thank you, Alfredo, for joining us.
No, thank you for organizing this. Have a great week, everyone.
Yes. Bye.